I'm just going to kick off. So I'm Ian Mabbett, and I will chair this session and the discussion. But I just wanted to begin with a broad level overview of research culture in general, and then introduce our panelists who can, again, give a little bit of a description about their own areas and their own take on this. And then an opportunity for you to join in the discussion and talk and ask some questions to the panel. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a definition and then a video, because the Royal Society say this a lot better than I ever can to set the scenes. But really, when we're talking about research culture, we're thinking about the behaviours, the values, the expectations, the attitudes and the norms of our research communities. And they produced this 3-minute video which I think sums things up really nicely. There we are. So far more concise and succinct than I would ever be, but I think that gives you a real flavour for what it is that we're talking about. And there is a broad range of issues that we have to look at as a system in order to improve things. So just a little bit about Swansea and what we're doing here, and then I'll introduce our panel, who all pick up elements of what came out in that video. So I think it's really important for us. This is something that we talk about a lot within the university, because we have to balance excellent research with excellent teaching with world-leading research. And I don't see those things as separate. I think actually a culture, the values and the culture should encompass both. So that's something that we're working on. And a recognition of the part that our students play in both being shaped by and shaping research culture. And as I look around the room, actually, because for those of you who don't know, this is my area. I did a doctorate in steel technology, focused on functional coatings. And as I look around the room, I can see people that I knew back in those days. So I think it's that recognition that those students will go on to do these things. So again, it's recognizing the full range of people that contribute to our research as well, from our technical community and the academics to the people that are making sure that you can hear me right now and see that these slides are working. Okay. Don't want to dwell too much on this, but I think ultimately when you look at even the overarching sort of strategies within the university, you see parts in there that are focused around people. So bringing people and ideas together, responsible research and innovation, and productive research environments. So it really is core to all that we do. And also, because it is such a wide-ranging area, we cover a lot of space as well. So within the research culture field, we have a research culture action plan, but that again has to align with many concordats that we're signed up to. Concordat for researcher development and work that we do around open access. So we are a co-lead of the national chapter of COARA, for example, which is looking at research assessment to move away from those really narrow definitions of success into a wider vision of what good looks like. And again, there's some themes that run through that, so enhancing excellence, but it's really things around recognizing diverse contributions, developing careers, connecting and belonging, and actually looking after each other as well, which is perhaps something that we can always strive to improve. But all of this fits around an external landscape as well. We touched on technicians, because alongside this we have a technician commitment, which is an important part of any research culture. And also these are the things that we do because they're the right things to do, and they will improve the quality of research. But underpinning all of that, we do have the academic stick as well, which is REF, which is now recognising people, culture and environment more than it ever has done in the past. So it really is at the forefront of people's minds. And within our own university, it feeds into an overall people and culture strategy. The great thing about working in research culture, it's relatively new for me. I took on the role of Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor for Research Culture on April the 1st. Okay, yeah, I'll let that one sink in. Yeah, April the 1st. I did have to check on April the 2nd that it was real. And then, as I say, what I found is a highly collaborative network, because the great thing about working in research culture is it's really pointless doing it as one institution, because it's about a wider community. So really great collaborative efforts across HE and beyond. And that, for me, reminds me of Sustain. So I think I'm delighted to be here talking at Sustain, because actually Sustain is where this is done really, really well, in my view. I think there's lots of things. There's a highly collaborative network on the technical side, but also this idea of how we've got that mobility of research between industry and academia, and also ultimately, because let's be honest, steel is a highly politically charged area at the moment, how we get the right policy advice coming out of networks like Sustain is really important to us as well. So with that, I'm really going to stop talking too much. We've got 4 panelists. I'll do a very quick overview, and then I'll allow them to come up and talk about, you know, their parts of the picture as well. So the first thing is, if we are going to have mobility of the outputs and the outcomes of research, then we really better hope that we can trust those results and trust how they were developed. So we've got Anjana Choudhuri, who is going to talk about her role within the university, which looks after our ethics, our integrity, and all of these things which contribute towards responsible research innovation. We've got Anna Seager, who is the Research Culture Manager, who is going to talk to us about, actually in this context, so Anna has a broad role across research culture, but in this context is going to look at the diverse contributions that we need for a vibrant research community. Then we have almost a case study of that, because we're lucky to have Jennifer Thompson with us, who's been running a really exciting project about this. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Jennifer. I'm going to let you introduce it. And then finally, because this is Sustain, and because I truly believe in the importance of that mobility of research and researchers between sectors, I'm delighted to have Mark Allen from MPI to give us some perspectives on that collaboration in the industry and academic space. So I guess first of all, if we could welcome our panel. And then I'll invite Anjana up to do introductory slides.
Good morning, everybody. As Ian said, I'm Anjana Choudhuri. I'm the Research Integrity Manager for the university. And believe me, I've been doing this job for 10 years, but this is the first I'm getting this kind of an opportunity to actually speak to an audience which is combined of both researchers and people from the industry as well. And it's real privilege for me to actually speak about something which started, as Ian said, about REF, and it started as a component of REF environment in 2014, a very small component. But over the last 10 years, it has actually really grown significantly. And a job that I started 10 years ago, I think it's just, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, to be honest with you, because one day I'm doing like trusted research, the other day that I'm doing high risk monitoring, third day I'm doing ethics of research. So it's actually quite a wide ranging. So when Ian approached me last week to speak about my role, in the university, I kind of thought, gosh, where do I start with? So I'll try and capture what I do in very limited number of slides, because I'm not very good at talking. So I'll leave it to the floor and to the panel thereafter for any questions that may arise. So how do we define integrity? When I look at integrity in just as a definition, when I look up at the dictionary, I see integrity means honesty, it means, fairness, robustness, etc. But one definition for research which really struck with me was integrity is doing what is right even when it is difficult. And I say this, as I said, 10 years I have been in this role. More than 10 years I have been managing the research misconduct cases for the university since 2011. And that is the theme that keeps coming back again and again as to what integrity actually means. So obviously, Ian spoke about ethics. Ethics is the most important part, because ethically we are able to check the research that we are doing, whether, how we are conducting it, and it's a process. When we started the ethics review, but that process doesn't stop until and unless we have actually published the results, and even maybe sometimes thereafter. So ethics is also, we do have to do the ethical review of a research, because it matters to people. It matters to people who we are using as our research participants, about their dignity, about their rights, their well-being, etc. And at the back of it all, we are also trying to protect the reputation of the university by doing things with integrity. So why should we take work with integrity? Because research that is conducted ethically brings trust in that research. And who do you think people want to hear from when they want to hear about research? Any guesses? Any guesses at all? Wellcome Trust undertook a survey in 2019-2020, and it came out that 82% of the British public trusted the scientists, so people on the floor, people in this university, to tell them the truth. And they preferred to hear from us as to what this research was about. If they believe in us, they believe in our work, they have trust in our research. Now, why is trust important in research? Because it promotes knowledge, it promotes truth, it avoids errors, and it aids collaborative working, as we can see through all these kind of conference and seminars that we hold, that we attend, etc. And it upholds moral and social values. Trusted research provides confidence, and with that confidence, the public have obviously research in the research findings. The appropriate policies can be drafted by the government as a result. Patients have confidence in trusted medicines, research that has gone through proper clinical trial evaluations. Why did we have so many queries about the COVID-19 vaccines? Because it was thought that there wasn't ample time given for that research to have gone through the proper processes. It wasn't the case, but that's what was one of the reasons people had queries. Parents have confidence when we do educational research. Funders have confidence if we provide trusted research, if the results are good, and other research collaborators, researchers, etc. have confidence. So, what is that benchmark, or what are the yardsticks, measurements? How do we know that we are doing research which is actually acceptable, which is trusted, which is good? In 2012, the Universities UK published the Concordat to support research integrity, and spoke about many of the concordats that we have. So we have a Concordat to support research integrity, and gives us 5 commitments as researchers: that we must uphold the high standards of rigor and integrity in all aspects of our research, that we must ensure that the research is conducted ethically, legally, and under the professional frameworks, and various frameworks that we have. The medical MRC have a framework, so all of those ESRC, etc. And that there is a culture, as we will be speaking about later on as well, and that if there are any queries, allegations, arising about research misconduct, that we as a body undertake that seriously, look into it seriously, make sure the processes are completed in time and the processes are robust and that they're fair. And we regularly review our policies, our processes, just to make sure that they are in line, in time. Like at the moment, artificial intelligence is one of the things very high on the agenda. And all universities across UK are trying to desperately catch up on what they have in place, what they should develop in place for our students, for our staff, for future. So that's a Concordat which was published in 2012 and it was revised in 2019. And we have a body across the university, which is the UK Committee of Research Integrity, which actually checks that we are working within the frameworks that the Concordat has given. So the checking is not only done by UK CORI, as I just mentioned. We also have HEFQ, our funding body, the Higher Education Funding Council of Wales. And we have other funding bodies from which we get our money, for our funds, for the research. Now, how are they checking? Every year, we have to produce, or rather, the university has to produce several assurance reports, which we have to provide to our funders, we have to provide to HEFQ, and we have regular audits as well, sometimes once every 2 years, once every 3 years, just to make sure that the money that we are getting for the research that we are conducting, we are doing it with rigor, with integrity, and with transparency. So what is your role as a researcher? I don't think I need to tell you that. I'm sure you all know. But just as a few guidelines from the UK Research Integrity Committee, that you must ensure that your research is conducted with high ethical standards, that whatever research you do, you wear a hat to begin the research thinking about ethics. Does it require, I know engineering research, many may think, there is no requirement for ethical research, but under the trusted research banner these days, a lot of the engineering research is coming under direct scrutiny. So we need to start thinking, what is the research that I'm doing? What will be the implications of it? How, when it goes back to society, what can be made out of it? We need to start kind of taking a step back before we start the process to ensure that we're doing it properly, we're doing it correctly, that there are no secondary damages that are created as a result. We need to comply with all the policies and procedures that I spoke about and take advantage of the training, because there's a lot of training that is offered within institutions, which we kind of think, oh, that's another thing to do, but it's actually quite valuable to upgrade, update our skills, etc. And comply with the open research practices and of trusted research. So if we do, I've spoken about research misconduct before as well, but if we do research without integrity, it leads to obviously research misconduct. The Research Council gives us a definition. That's a definition you will find in the university policies across UK, wherever you go. These are the things. This is the definition of fabrication, falsification, plagiarism. What is the impact? The impact is major if we don't conduct research properly, because it is quite a time-consuming process, a stressful process for all parties to go through if things are brought to light that they have not been undertaken appropriately. So therefore, as a researcher, there are some good practice guidance while conducting research, during the process and after. And these are some of the guidances. Why is it necessary? One of the things, I've written authorship over there in big bold letters, because that's one of the very important things that we fail to take into account when we start a project. We just kind of we just kind of start the research without thinking actually who's doing what, how much of each of these contributions will be part of the final outcome. If there's a paper that's going to be published, whose name is going to be there as the first or the second author or whatever. And many of the disputes that arise, and I'm sure Anna will be speaking about it later as well on other aspects of things that may lead to research misconduct, but authorship is one of the big contentious issues that comes up again and again when we are looking. So as a guidance, I would kind of say that please think about these things when you start a research project. Make sure that contributions, contributorships, authorships, etc. are discussed, and it's like, you know, done in a proper way, so as to not have problems at a later stage. And when you're finishing again, ensure that everything that you have done has actually been done properly, legally, ethically, that nothing will come out of the woodworks at a later stage to come and bite you, to come and become a problem for yourself and for the university, or for any of the collaborators. So some of the guidelines for that. And that's all really I have to say for the moment, because I think there's a lot that Anna and the others may wish to take on. And if you want, I can take the questions now, or I can take it at part of the panel later on.
Yeah, I think we'll probably go for the panel, if that's all right. But
yeah,
thank
that's
you,
absolutely
Anjana.
fine.
So next up, I'd like to invite Anna to give your intro. Thank you. So these are the two which really do prop me up on a day-to-day basis. Without Anjana and Anna, I would be in deep trouble.
Hi everyone, thanks for inviting me, Becky and Ellie, to talk. I'm going to give a talk I've given before, but I think it's an important message and something to think about when you're conducting research or thinking about research, and that is the EDI that you embed into that research process. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction to equality, diversity and inclusivity in research practices, what EDI means when planning and delivering research, the benefits of promoting EDI in research activities, and tools to help embed EDI into your research planning and delivery. So I'm going to firstly define what we mean by equality, diversity and inclusivity in research. So the definition of equality is the state of being equal, especially in status, rights or opportunities. And in the university, any staff and students working in research are protected by the Equality Act of 2010, and this is a law. It is against the law to discriminate against anyone because of a protected characteristic, and these are the protected characteristics under that act: age, gender, being married, being pregnant, disability, race. But also in research, we should also consider many other aspects of people's lives, such as their socio-economic background, social class, and cultural engagement, which are not really listed as protected characteristics, but are important also to, part of research and EDI. So equality also means equality of opportunity. So that is ensuring that anyone who may be disadvantaged gets the tools they need to access the same opportunities as their peers. But treating everybody equally does not really fully account for the individual needs and circumstance of people. So equality provides the same level of assistance to all segments of society, and you can see that quite well in the diagram. Each person has been given a box to watch the football, but actually equity provides various levels of support and assistance depending on people's needs and abilities. So different people may need more support in order to access those opportunities and break down those barriers. So diversity in research is really about recognising, respecting and celebrating each other's differences in the broadest sense possible. A diverse environment is one with a range of different backgrounds and mindsets, which allows for an empowered culture of creativity and innovation. Inclusivity in research, well, inclusivity is really the process of bringing people that are traditionally excluded into decision-making processes, activities, or positions of power. It enables individuals or groups to feel safe, respected, motivated, and engaged. Inclusion involves actively in creating an environment where everyone feels welcome, everyone feels valued, and everyone has the opportunity to participate. That doesn't mean that people have to participate, but they should be able to do so if they want to. So inclusivity is about enabling and acknowledging contributions. And this diagram here really sort of shows how this all fits together. Equality and diversity are the starting points of EDI, but inclusion is the end goal. And when people feel included, you can build that sense of belonging and community that is so positive, supporting a positive research environment. So what does this matter? Well, there are numerous examples of when EDI has not been taken into consideration and implicit assumptions have been made and used in research. So this is showing a crash test dummy, and historically the crash test dummies used in auto safety testing have commonly used what is assumed to be a standard male sized crash test dummy, and then scaled for varying heights and weights. However, female bodies, children's bodies, elderly people are not just a smaller or different version of a male body, meaning that these groups are much more likely to be injured during crashes in comparison to males. The temperature in offices is another example where diversity has not been taken into consideration. So the formula to determine standard office temperature was developed in the 1960s around the metabolic resting rate of a man. And this shows that the formula actually overestimates female metabolic rate by as much as 35%, meaning that current offices are on average 5 degrees cold for women as compared to men. There is overgeneralization of research findings in many disciplines. Psychology, for example, because of the ease of access to subjects where the research is conducted, has led to the vast majority of psychology research being done on Western populations, often undergraduate student populations, and indeed a survey of some of the top psychology journals found that 96% of participants used in studies were from Western countries, while representing only 12% of the world's population. In some instances, this has been referred to as weird. Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. Democratic based on the nuances of the research participants. Another example is the COVID-19 studies that were conducted. Much of the literature that informed research in health and social care is based on designs and sampling strategies that have traditionally yielded predominantly white, male, and well-educated samples. Many don't report on ethnicity, socio-economic status, other characteristics of their sample, and of the over 1,500 COVID-19 trials registered on clinical trials in June 2020, only 6 were collecting data about ethnicity, despite the disproportionately severe impacts of COVID-19 on Black and South Asian people. So why does this matter? Well, if you consider EDI in your research, you are fueling innovation. By actively promoting diversity and inclusivity in recruitment processes, universities can attract a wider range of talented individuals and expand their pool of talent. And diverse teams bring together individuals from different backgrounds, life experience, values, and characteristics. And this diversity can foster innovative thinking and lead to more creative problem solving. Positive research culture strengthens collaboration and team dynamics, The value of collaboration, respect and active engagement among team members brings a positivity, and by leveraging diverse skills and experiences, this fuels innovation. By considering EDI in research design, biases, stereotypes and gaps in research are noticed and new areas of research are opened. Thinking about EDI in your research activities also promotes research excellence. You expand the applicability and increase your social relevancy of your work by thinking about EDI. Implicit assumptions are revealed, and as I said before, biases, norms and stereotypes are mitigated. The outcomes of the research will fairly benefit those communities that are most impacted by the research you conducted. So it's getting to the right audience and you're including the right people that are going to be impacted by the research. And it also prevents overgeneralization of findings. And importantly, it improves reproducibility of the work. EDI in research also matters because it meets funding expectations. So a lot of funders are interested in how you have thought about EDI in your research when you're writing a grant. UKRI published its EDI strategy, Research and Innovation by Everyone for Everyone last year. Swansea University has a much higher number of applications now to UKRI in the last few years. This is one of the main funders. This is the place where people are writing grants and trying to gain grant capture. And the strategy has 4 objectives that provide a framework for the actions UKRI will take to implement their strategy in their role as an organisation, as a leader, a funder and a partner, and also as an employer. Each of the research councils have separately created action plans around the 4 objectives. So it doesn't matter which research council you're going to, whether it's MRC or EPSRC, they all have an action plan related to this overarching strategy. And while it is useful to know UKRI's strategic objectives, this strategy is not that useful a resource for considering how to embed EDI into your own research design and your own practice and your own research environment within Swansea or with industry and other stakeholders. This resource is really, really good, and I don't know whether we'll be able to share the slides later, but I've embedded all the links into the slides. And this is the EPSRC Expectations for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion. It is a really good resource, and it helps embed EDI into research practices and for the design of research proposals and managing research teams and research environments. It's sort of split up into these 6 sections. Develop an approach to embedding EDI in the research lifecycle, how to implement good practices in recruitment and selection processes to ensure diverse teams, how to ensure diversity and inclusivity in all activities such as events, sandpits, networking, meetings, creating an inclusive and accessible environment, ensuring career progression and training for all members of the team, and inclusive research. And they have, under each of the sections, so I've just shown up from the document now, section 6, inclusive research. It lists the expectations and then all of these resources to help you deliver those expectations, and they expect you to deliver on these if you're going to be awarded a grant with them. So diversity is included in research design, the user's voice is included in the research, consideration is given to ensuring diversity in study participants, for example. This is another great resource, and it's produced by the National Institute for Health and Care Research. It's the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Toolkit. And although I know many of you are not involved in health and care research, the questions that it asks and the way it talks about research design and research teams are relevant despite the research, if it's in engineering or material science. And again, they've broken it down into sections, 8 different sections, such as public involvement, data analysis, data collection, the research team, budgeting for inclusion. So when you're writing a grant, you can be thinking about how you're going to train up your team. You can be thinking about how you're going to have the time to think about EDI and plan that into the bid. Each section has suggested questions as to how you may look at EDI, case studies and useful links and resources. So for example, has the research historically excluded certain populations in the past? What historic and structural issues might affect how underrepresented groups feel about research participation or involvement? How will you navigate these issues? And the final resource that I'm going to mention is this from the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada. So they have produced a guide on integrating equity, diversity and inclusion considerations in research. And this has been divided into 2 areas, EDI considerations at each stage of the research process and EDI consideration for research teams. So who are you working with, who are you collaborating with, who contributes to the research environment in which the research is conducted. How is the research planned and carried out? Who are the research subjects? Who is impacted by the research? At Swansea, we also have lots of resources available to our staff and our academics. Myself, Ian, Anjana, the faculty research hubs are all there, and we also have faculty and school leads across the university who are also willing to help with any questions about EDI and what we are doing as a university. So yeah, these are just the resources that I mentioned, and then I did say any questions, but I'll leave it to the panel discussion. Thank you.